Everyone, Suzanne here. I hope you're all well and welcome to So Custom. Today's video is going to be how I patterned this little number. So this is the second video I'm uploading today. The first one was how I sewed this up, so I shall leave that linked below. But if you're interested in seeing how I patterned it, then let's get started. Starting with the tracing, I am tracing here my shirt block back. I'm only tracing from the waist up around the neck and down the centre front. I don't need the bottom part of the shirt for this pattern. So I'm just transferring my markings. So I have my waist, I have a couple of notches at my sleeve, and now I want to increase the neck size. So I'm just taking off 1 centimetre there from the neck shoulder point. And then the same thing here again, I want to decrease the shoulder length just a little bit. So I'm taking off 1.5 centimetres here. And then I'm going to use my hip curve to redraw in the top part of my armhole. So just making that a nice smooth curve. And now I want to straighten off the side seam. So I'm making sure my ruler's lined up with that straight edge of the waist. Just drawing a straight line from the bottom of the armhole to the waist. And now I need the measurement of the waist for my skirt later on, so I'm just marking that in here. Adding my 1 centimetre seam allowance. Labelling. So this will be my spring dress. This is my back bodice and I shall cut one on the fold. And now to the front bodice. So same thing here again, I'm just tracing from the waist, transferring all my markings. So adding in my waistline, I have a notch at my sleeve. And then opening up the neck just a little bit, the same as I did on the back. And then measuring down the centre front 6 3/4 inches and joining up those 2 points. That's going to give me my V-neck. And then same as the back, reducing the shoulder length there by 1.5 centimetres. Drawing in a nice new curve for my armhole. And then straightening off the side seam. And same thing here again, I'm going to take the measurement of the waistline. As I say, I'll need that later on. So marking that in. Now just to add seam allowance the whole way around. Little notch at my centre front at the neck. And then I've just labelled here, this is my front and I shall cut 2. Now on to the skirt. So I'm just giving myself a little right angle there and I'm going to draw a vertical and horizontal line off that point. So I'm creating my skirt pattern here and my skirt pattern is just a rectangle, so I want to make sure I've got a nice right angle there. So the measurement you see me take on my bodice at the waistline, so my front was 10.5 inches. My back was 10 inches. I'm just adding both of those together and then dividing them by 2 in order to get my waist measurement for my skirt front and back. So that will be 10 1/4 inches. So just measuring down there, that 10 1/4 inches, giving myself a little mark. And then drawing another horizontal line, this will be my side seam. And I want my skirt length to be 20 inches, so just measuring that here. And marking both of those measurements in. So the 20 inches for the length and the 10 1/4 inches for the waist. Squaring off at the hem. And now just to add seam allowance the whole way round. I shall have a little notch at my centre front and labelling. So this piece is going to be my skirt front and back.
So for the front I'm going to cut 2 because I want a centre front seam, and for the back I'm going to cut it on the fold, just where you see me mark there. That's my skirt done. And now I want to create a gathered piece that will go at the bottom of my skirt. I want it to be twice the width of my skirt, so I already know that the width of my skirt is 10 1/4 inches, so I'm making the width of this sort of gathered piece 20 1/2 inches. I want the length of this ruffle piece to be 9 inches, so just marking both of those in and then connecting my lines to give myself a really basic rectangle. I'm going to cut this one on the fold and give myself some seam allowance, little notch at the fold line, and I shall cut 2 of them for front and back. And then for the sleeve, this is my shirt sleeve block and I'm just tracing around. This is going to be quite a short sleeve, so I'm just tracing the top part. Added in my notches there, and just giving myself that nice straight edge from underarm to underarm, and using that straight edge to straighten off at the underarm seam. That's just going to give me a bit of additional width to the sleeve. And now just measuring down the length I want the sleeve to be, and that is 6 inches. And then connecting those 2 points. And here I'm just going to divide up that length at the bottom of the sleeve by 4, roughly by 4. So these little marks are about 4 inches apart. And then just drawing a straight line up to the sleeve head. These are going to be my slash lines. I want to give this sleeve a little bit of volume, so I'm going to use the slash and spread method to do that. So just to cut this piece out, pop it onto some fresh paper and then just slash up those lines. And I'm going to spread each of these lines by 2 inches. So I've just cut through the line up to the sleeve head but not through it. Spread those 2 pieces by 2 inches at the bottom. And once I'm happy everything's flat, just sticking everything in place. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing to the other 2 lines. So cutting through the line to the top but not through the top. Giving myself that little pivot point at the top to spread open those lines. Measuring my 2 inches. And once I'm happy everything's flat, sticking everything down. And then for my last one, exact same thing here again. And now just to fill in the little gaps, my spread marks. So I'm just doing this by eye. You could use your curve to do it here. And then to add seam allowance the whole way around. I have a little notch at the centre of my sleeve at the bottom, and you'll see I'm going to add another couple of notches here. But first of all, labelling. This is my sleeve. I shall cut 2, and then those notches just in between the spread marks, I'm going to gather that the whole way down. And I'm going to gather it into a cuff piece, which is what I'm patterning here now. So I've just done the same as I did for the skirt and for the gathered piece. I've given myself a little right angle and I'm just measuring 2 1-inch lines. And then I'm measuring on those lines 10 1/2 inches. So that's the length I need my cuff to be and the width I need it to be. Just squaring off my edge and then to add seam allowance. So I have a little notch at the centre on the horizontal. That's going to give me my fold line and labelling. So this is my cuff and I shall cut 2. And that is this pattern complete. So I have my sleeve with my notches to gather down into that nice cuff. I have my bodice front and back with my neckline nicely reshaped and my shoulder reduced, side seam straightened out, And then I have my skirt, just one pattern piece for this, front and back. One will be cut on the fold and one will have a centre front seam. And then the gathered piece that will go along the bottom of the skirt, I shall cut 2 of those and they will be on the fold. Done! And this is how it looks when it's all sewn up. So I filmed the making of this one and uploaded that, so I shall link that video below. But you'll see in that video it's super quick to sew up, made up in some sort of flowy fabric like a viscose, which is what I've used here. It's super comfortable against the skin, so nice to wear. Love this one.
So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, please do, and I shall see you in my next one. Bye folks!